Needham did not have the right conditions, like that jar with the lid on it. He said there was a special gravy you needed. If you have that special gravy, then maggots would appear. So he said, needs a special gravy. Now, I don't know where he came up with this idea. Now, spontaneous generation was not his idea. This was something that was around. I don't know where he came up with, like, this special gravy that you need. So then you're having to argue with somebody that, hey, things just don't appear out of thin air. They said a long, long time ago, they said that if you wanted mice, this is how they literally thought baby mice appeared or came about. And I don't know why they would think this because, humans like, have babies, they are pregnant and then have a baby. But they said, mice, if you want to get baby mice, all you need to do is put some grain out in a barn and poof, you'll have baby mice. They literally thought they just appeared out of nowhere. Spontaneous generation. Alright, so of course people are like, no, that's not what's happening. But you can't just say, no, that's not happening. You have to say, no, it's not happening. Now here's how I'm going to prove it. Alright, so what Spallanzani did to make Needham's test fair, because they're like, no, this isn't right. And he's like, well, you have to prove, if you're going to tell me I'm not right, you have to prove it wrong. How are you going to prove it wrong? So, this is what Spallanzani did. And you would think that this would have been fine and dandy, but they still argued with him even. And he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. He sealed one jar of this gravy. Alright, so he sealed one jar of gravy. Guess what did not occur in there? Guess what did not show up? No maggots, okay? So he was like, see, I told you that special gravy does not matter. Guess what his argument? Needham was like, that's a bad experiment. Guess what Needham told him?
It's gravy.
It was the right gravy. But what does every living thing need? What's something we all have to live? We have to have food, but that's what he said the special gravy was for.
Air.
Air. And he sealed this jar. So he said there was no air, so no living things could live. So he was like, yeah, no, maggots still just appear out of thin air. You just didn't have air to this gravy. So, pasture, which you guys have heard of pasteurization? You have pasteurized milk. Pasteur has done a ton for the scientific community. Alright, so we're going to see what he finally did to kind of lay this to rest so that people would stop thinking that things came out of thin air. And he did that. He kind of put it all to rest. So what he did, I'm going to draw again, is he had this, it's kind of like a flask. It's a rounded flask. And it had a neck on it like this. And he had that special gravy. But he left it open to the air, so now air can get in there. So what he eventually did, he left it like this for a year. For 1 year he did this. And he boiled some of this so that like these tiny microorganisms couldn't get through. So what you have is you have airflow through here, and a lot of these if we were to leave a petri dish out here and just let it sit, the things that would grow on that just from in the air. So what would happen is that any microorganisms would get kind of caught right here in the bottom of this, and so they couldn't get into the gravy. But flies could still get in there. He left it open, and flies, you have gravy or food or anything, they're going to get in there and they're going to lay their eggs. So anyways, flies can still get in there. So, nothing happened. So for 1 year, he boiled this and did all this, and nothing happened, nothing grew with this. 1 year later, so let's cut across here, 1 year. He cut the neck off of this thing. So he chopped the neck off. So now all we have is this. he stopped boiling it, and as soon as he did that, maggots appeared. So he said they had air, nothing was happening here, like it's all clean, there's air, the gravy's there, nothing is going on. As soon as he cut the neck off of this thing, maggots appeared. And he could find all kinds of living things. It wasn't just maggots. He found all kinds of tiny living organisms, and we're going to look at those things here coming up soon. Tiny microorganisms. So what he said is he was like, okay, that's done. Living things come from other living things. And that's how, for the first time, everybody finally agreed that living things came from other living things and didn't just appear out of nowhere. But it took them years and many scientists to all agree that yes, a living thing comes from another living thing, and they have still not appeared. Which is kind of crazy to think about, that it took them that long and that many scientists to do that. So, guys, that is walking through. See if I can do this thing real quick.
What if I talk to this guy